Hello everyone, my name is Sarah. I go by GSarah on Instagram, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how to make the strongest scented candle. I have about 5 or 6 tips that I have used throughout all of my testing process. Ever since I launched my candle business, I've gotten a lot of feedback on that. My candles are really strong. They're not overpowering, but they do permeate throughout rooms. I do advertise that my candles, they fill up a bedroom or a living room, but I've tested them myself and I've had other people attest to this, that they do spread very far and that the scent is very strong. It's not overpowering, it doesn't give you a headache, but it's really strong. So I wanted to share all of the tips that I use and things that I've learned along the way, and hopefully it'll help you guys in your journey with creating really awesome candles. I have my notes written down so that I don't forget. So first, really quickly, I wanted to talk about the difference between hot throw and cold throw. Cold throw is after you have poured your candle, it is cooled, and it's the scent that comes from the candle before it's being burned. Like you take the lid off, you smell it, that's the cold throw. The hot throw is going to be the scent that comes from your candle after you have lit it. A lot of people, whenever they begin their candle making journey, I did. Everybody runs into this problem where you have really awesome cold throw, but then the second that you light the candle, it's dead. There's nothing. You can't smell anything, and that's a really common problem. So if this is where you're at in your testing process, don't feel bad. We have all been there. I was there for a very long time. So there are a few things that will affect your hot throw, and the first one is obviously going to be the kind of wax that you're using and what you're doing with that wax. Second's going to be your fragrance oil. Third is going to be your wicks, and then the fourth will be the type of jar or tin or what container that you're using for your candle. All of these are going to have a really big impact on your hot throw. The biggest thing with candle making, though, is to do your own testing and be patient. Trust the process. It does take time to figure out what your golden formula is. You're not going to figure this out overnight. It takes time. So with that being said, the first thing that you want to focus on is your wax. Let's say that you're just starting out, so you order a 5-pound bag of 646 wax, because that seems to be like the most popular wax that people use. You want to follow the instructions that the manufacturer gives you on how to make a candle with that wax, because every wax that you can buy for candle making, there are instructions on it. I'm going to do my best to find like all of them and tag them down below, or at least the most popular ones or the ones that I have used, because all the different waxes that I've used, there were instructions by the manufacturer. You want to start doing that. You want to do it exactly the way that they say to do it. And whenever you're done, you have your test candle. If you don't like something about it, this is where you're going to go back and you're going to start tweaking certain things about the process of making a candle with that wax. So for my candles, I personally use a combination of 2 waxes, and I learned kind of like late in my journey that you can combine waxes. Didn't know that you could do that. I don't know why I never thought to do it, but combining waxes has been amazing. Coco 83 and 444 for me work really great. I love the consistency. I like working with those waxes. It's not too messy and just, I don't know. It just works for me. I like it. I started off testing with 464 wax. Everybody, I feel like, tests with 464 wax because it seems like soy candles are just, that's kind of like the most popular thing. It's all natural. Secondly, I tested with IGI 6006. This is a parasoy, so it's paraffin. It's mostly paraffin. I think 70% paraffin, and then 30% soy. Then I started testing with C3, which I believe is 100% soy wax. And then I tested with C6, and I'm going to go ahead and tag my review of the C6 wax up here if you would like to go and watch it, because I do still stand by that review. I think that my opinion of the wax hasn't changed. I'm also going to tag up here the reason why I stopped using C6 wax. If y'all want to watch them, they're there. I had heard that paraffin wax gives you a stronger hot throw, so I wanted to try, okay, this is parasoy, so let's try that out. And that one gave off the strongest hot throw, hands down, not even a competition. The IGI 6006 is, for me, for my testing, it gave off the best hot throw. However, I could not stand the way that that wax feels. It comes in slab form, which I'm totally fine with, but it's so slimy. It wasn't worth the fact that it had such a great hot throw for me. Now, this kind of goes with what I said in the beginning about following the manufacturer's instructions, you have to make sure that you melt your waxes to a specific temperature. You can't just melt it until it's liquid, because almost every time that's only like, depending on what the wax is, that could be between 140 and 160. And most waxes, especially soy, you have to heat it up to 185. I know that with a lot of coconut waxes, you have to heat it up to 200. So since mine is a combination of soy and coconut, I heat mine up to 190. Make sure that you are heating it up to the temperature that it needs to be at. Otherwise, it won't be hot enough for whenever you mix in your fragrance oil and for the molecules to, there are words that I can't think of right now. It needs to be at that temperature in order for them to actually bind. Next, try out different wicks. There are a lot of different wicks out there that you can use, and some of them work better with certain waxes. I noticed that, if I remember this correctly, the HTP wicks worked really, really well with the Parasoy, the IGI 6006 wax, but they did not work well with 464 or 444. The CD wicks worked really well with soy. I used the Eco wicks, but all of the wicks are going to have a much different impact on your hot throw, and also depending on the wax that you use. So make sure that you're trying different wicks and different sized wicks. I'm actually going to include down in the description a link to a chart that I found. I think it's on the Flaming Candles website, that has all of the sized wicks and what size diameter of the jar they are made for. That was so helpful. That's what I used before I ordered any of my wicks, and I ended up ordering like 10 different kinds of wicks before I found the ones that I liked. But you want to find a wick that is not going to be burning too fast and give too high of a flame, because then it can soot and the fragrance oil is going to be bad. It's just going to be burning up all the fragrance oil. If you get one that's too small, or it has too small of a flame, it won't give you a full melt pool, and then you're going to have tunneling, and then the candle's going to put itself out. So in my experience, you really want to have a wick that burns as slow as it can while still giving you the full melt pool. That I've found that works the best for me. Next is going to be your jars. This is a really kind of short topic, but basically, the bigger that your jar's diameter is, the more hot throw that you're going to have out of that jar. So if you have a really small, narrow mouth to your candle jar, it's not going to have a very strong hot throw. My candles are really similar in diameter. I'm gonna show y'all real quick. These are my 12 ounce candles, and then these are my 6 ounce candles. And if you look, they're not completely identical, but they're really, really close. Between 3 and 3.5 inches diameter. And the diameter is the distance from one side to the other. Next, we are going to talk about fragrance oil. There are a lot of different fragrance oils out there on the market, and some of them are not made for candle making. On every website that I've ever used, that I've ever bought fragrance oil for my candles, it said straight on the website or on that web page that they're made specifically for candles, and some of them will even tell you if they're really good for soy waxes or if they work really good with paraffin waxes. Like, a lot of times it'll have that information on there. So just do your research and look for that kind of information. While we're talking about fragrance oils that don't work for candles, let's talk about essential oils really quick. I know that when I first started my candle making journey, I really, really wanted everything to be all natural. I didn't want to use any paraffins. I didn't want anything synthetic in my candles, and so I wanted to use essential oils. And it did not take me long to find out that essential oils are not going to give you a hot throw. Mixing your fragrance oils. I know that a lot of people, they don't even like to think about this, because, you know, whenever we buy our fragrance oils, it's already kind of a bunch of different scents in there together, or maybe you'll find one that you just love and it's perfect. But if you take one, maybe you love this certain, I don't know, an apple scent, but it's just really not strong for your candle. It doesn't put off a good hot throw. Mixing that with something else, like maybe you would mix it with a cinnamon vanilla scent or something, that can actually bring out the smell of the apple. Yeah, it's going to smell different than it would with just the apple, but if you mix fragrance oils, a lot of times that is going to make your candles a lot stronger. Now, when it comes to mixing fragrance oils, obviously you have to do testing with this, and a good way to do testing with mixing fragrance oils without actually wasting a lot of product is to take a Q-tip, dip it into your fragrance oil, and then take the other end of the Q-tip and dip it in a different fragrance oil, and then put this in a cup and close it and leave it in there for about 5 minutes, and then afterwards smell it. And that will give you kind of an idea of what it's going to smell like when you mix the two together. Fragrance oil percentage plays a huge role in your hot throw. I think that's pretty obvious, but something that's maybe not so obvious is that having more fragrance oil in your candle does not mean that you're going to have a stronger hot throw. You need to kind of, I know that I say this a lot, but you need to do your own testing, because I've tested up to, I think, 12% fragrance oil all the way down to 6% fragrance oil. And the strongest hot throw for me was at 8%, which is on the lower end of that spectrum, but that's my sweet spot. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I talk about fragrance oil percentages in your candles, I will tag my candle math video up here. I am actually going to be redoing that video soon, so I may have the new one up here at some point in the future, but I'll tag that up here if you don't know what I'm talking about. Lastly, you want to make sure that you are stirring your fragrance oil into your wax for at least 2 minutes. And I know it sucks. Over time, this can get very repetitive, and I know, but even if you're making a single batch candle, you still need to stir it for at least, at the very bare minimum, 2 minutes. Because this will give it time for the wax molecules and the fragrance oil molecules to kind of get to know each other and then create a candle baby. So it's kind of like biology, except not really, because this is chemistry. So it's biochemistry. I don't think that that was correct. All right, next, and I know that this is really, a lot of people say that this is complete BS, but cure your candles for 2 weeks. This is what works for me. Again, this is all stuff that works for me. I have heard people say that you need to cure your candles for an entire month. I've heard people say that you don't need to cure your candles at all. I've heard 3 days, and I've done my own testing, and 2 weeks, that's the sweet spot for me, and that's with using soy and coconut wax. For me, putting a lid on it. If you don't have lids for your candle jars, then set like a notebook on top, or get a piece of styrofoam and lay it, put something on top. That way all of the scent molecules stay where they're supposed to stay. Lastly, we are going to be talking about additives. Whenever I was first testing my candles, I had heard that adding coconut oil to your candles helps with the smooth tops, and it also helps with the hot throw. And with my testing, this turned out to actually be true. Coconut oil definitely did help with the hot throw and smoothed out the tops, because after I moved from 464 wax, I was having really bad issues with, I think, the C6 wax with having smooth tops. Couldn't get smooth tops to save my life. Coconut oil really helped with that, and it did help with the hot throw. You do have to make sure that you are incorporating this into your candle math. So make sure that you're not just adding it to everything. You need to make sure that you incorporate that into your math and take it away from the wax that should be in there. I know that sounds really complicated, so again, candle math video, I'll have it down in the description as well. Finally is going to be the additive vybar. Vybar, I believe, is a stearic acid. I have a bag of it right here. There's 2 different kinds of vybar. There's the vybar 260, which is what this is. This is for container candles. And then there's another vybar, and I don't remember what the number is, but that one is for wax melts and tarts. Now, I did a whole testing video on vybar, and I'm going to attach that up above if you want to go back and look to see if vybar is actually effective. But yeah, so that right there is all of my tips, and I do hope that this was informative or helpful to you guys out there. I know that this whole testing process with candles is such a pain. I know that it is. I did it for I think like 8 months. Don't give up, because you will figure it out. You will find exactly what works for you, and you're gonna feel freaking awesome once you do. Because I did. I felt like the first man that made fire. Like, I figured it out. I created something magical with my hands. I did it, and it's freaking beautiful, and I love it, and just don't give up, basically. But anyways, I do hope that all of these tips were helpful or informative, and that you guys can hopefully use some of the information in this video to help with your journey, because I understand, I remember it is stressful. It is hard to keep going when you keep feeling like you're failing because you have a candle that just, it won't produce a hot throw no matter what you do. So hopefully this was helpful. If you would like to subscribe, that button is down below. If you would give me a thumbs up, that would be super beneficial to me and my channel here. And as always, be excellent to each other. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.